Because I've been getting a lot of criticism for being a basement dweller complaining about horse shows meant for little girls from 10 years ago, let me try my hand at being a basement dweller complaining about horse shows meant for little girls coming out today. And luckily there's this new series on the market, Wild Mains. Essentially, my first thought when I saw this was man, I didn't know My Little Pony changed its name to Wild Mains. And I'm sure if you don't particularly like equestrian stuff, My Little Pony or not, that's most people's first impressions of this as well. So it does come across a little odd when you realize that this has literally no affiliation to My Little Pony or Hasbro at all for that matter. So the question when I see this new IP is does Wild Mains have its own identity, or will it forever live in My Little Pony shadow? In fact, the leading conversation on the show so far isn't on any Wild Mains specific community, but on My Little Pony forums. Yeah. Now you're probably thinking, hey F, this is just another generic horse show. What's the big whoop? This just looks dime a dozen. My answer to that is it really? As we'll soon see in this video, the company behind Wild Mains are putting extra effort into curating a fandom for the show in specific. So, I don't know, let's give this a fair shake. If this is a show with a community and fandom worth forming around it, I'm sure most of us would like to get onto the ground floor of that. So let us take a look at Wild Mains. So, well, what better way is there to start our journey but by watching the trailer, so we can gauge what to expect. The main idea of this is to introduce its characters, and I guess their basic hobbies or whatever, which actually goes by pretty fast, which makes sense since it is a 30-second ad, but it might be a little too fast, so I'll just like break everything down. And you will thank me once I do, because these characters, they all look pretty much the exact same, and things are going to get pretty confusing pretty fast if these characters aren't immediately distinguished. So the trailer itself is narrated by Coco.
Saddle up and ride into the world of Wild Mains. I'm Coco,
who's the lead character who also works as a barista, I suppose. The first friend she introduces is Bailey.
Bailey, surf's up, Cherry!
I'm not really sure what to think of this voice. And from this, the impression a lot of us probably have is just like how Applejack's whole character is Apples, surfing is going to be Bailey's entire character. Can't wait. Also, it's kind of weird how the line that they chose to showcase here makes mention of a Cherry.
Cherry?
Who is the next character introduced?
Cherry. Here, help yourselves.
So, shouldn't Cherry have come first so that this line actually makes sense? I mean, I guess it doesn't ultimately matter in the grand scheme of things since this is just a 30-second trailer after all, but still, not the best first impression, I'll say. However, how is this next pony, Candy, not just Pinkie Pie?
Welcome back to Candy's Corner. I have some breaking news.
We'll talk about the art direction of the show a lot more in depth later, but if you have a main cast of characters that are colored like normal horses, yet you have this one pinkish horse be this outgoing, cheery, high-pitched voiced one of the group, you're not really doing yourself any favors with the My Little Pony comparisons. Though on that topic, as a stark contrast to My Little Pony, because Candy wields a selfie stick and appears to have a vlog, it does open up an opportunity to set the show up with a more distinctive voice away from My Little Pony.
Explore their world and ride into...
Same with this robot. That looks pretty awesome. Sure, I mean, I'm clearly out of the target demographic of the show, but it does seem worth checking out at least. Anyways, with that said, before we talk about the actual episodes, I think it's worth to see what inspired this series and all that good stuff. Well, Wild Mains was created by this toy company, Jakks Pacific, which I've literally never heard of, so I made sure to look through their website and find relevant information, right? What I found interesting is how they have this sidebar that shows products from other companies they manufacture toys for, such as Nintendo, Sonic, Disney, The Simpsons, whatever. Yet they have Wild Mains lined up next to them, which I think is a bit of an odd tactic. Come on, Wild Mains is supposed to be your crowning achievement. Don't just fit it snugly next to those big name brands. Now, I'm not sure if they did this to make it seem like Wild Mains is up there with the world famous companies, or if they did this so that people looking for big brand stuff also end up seeing their original series, or what. But if that was their intention, I can see that completely backfiring. Since I'm sure quite a bit of people will just look at the big brand stuff and barely acknowledge this one random thing, but I don't know, I'm just talking in a very general sense, you might disagree. Like, the website doesn't even have anything Wild Mains related on the homepage. Take some pride in your work. Then I thought, you know what, I don't know anything about this company. Maybe Wild Mains ain't their first rodeo at this sort of thing. Maybe they have a bunch of other original toy lines and shows and stuff like that. So I made sure to poke around more on the website and took notice of this list with their original stuff, with Wild Mains listed off loud and proud. From this, I just had to look into these other brands to see if they were as expansive as Wild Mains, and maybe I just happened to look up the lamest one on the list. Let's try that again. Well, I guess not. I don't know. Let's just look up another one here. Third time's the charm, right? Ah! Well, to be fair, they have this giant RC dinosaur thing, and I want one? Well, anyways, on the dedicated Wild Mains page, we are greeted with this pretty beautiful art of the characters. Though, I guess it pretty much immediately confirms that there ain't gonna be any male characters. Which just reminds me of how people would joke how, because in My Little Pony, females outnumber males, Most male-on-male couples must reproduce using magic, but judging by the fact that these horses don't got no magic. Anyways, the page, aside from the merch, which we shall be taking a much closer look at a little later, has this blurb written on it. Ride into Wildmane's trademark. Whimsical world full of girls' favorite things. Food, friends, flair, and fun. These adventure-loving horses are the center of Main Lane with their colorful manes, shop on wheels, and signature styles. Be part of their friendship and wild adventures this summer 2024 with the launch of the Wildmane's trademark animation series and Roblox trademark game. Which we might as well just kill two birds with one stone here because this is also the same description that's in their YouTube about me. So I'm guessing that this description is worth digging into. First of all, I like food and friends and flair and fun. Am I a girl all of a sudden? Secondly, sure, whatever. It seems fun enough. It even says, hey, you're new to the town of Wild. Well, hang on to your horseshoes and gallop over to Main Lane, the wildest, liveliest, friendliest place in town. There should be a comic here, but sure, I'll bite. Let's watch. Now, I know I kept referring to the series as a show, and I will continue to do so for the sake of simplicity, but I guess that term might be a little bit misleading because this ain't anything on television. It's just like a 5-minute web series on YouTube. So let's just breeze right through these. But before we do, I do want to preface this by saying that this isn't my first attempt trying to upload this video, because all the footage I was using was getting copyright claimed, surprise, surprise, so I had to put a giant watermark over any extended amount of footage. But you'll get the general idea, so enjoy! The first episode is called Heard It Wrong, which I swear, if a lot of these episodes end up having puns as titles, I think I'm gonna fall in love with the show.
Cherry!
So the first thing we're greeted to is a cold open of the friend group in the middle of running towards a direction just for Coco to look at the camera and say this.
Bet you're wondering what's happening. Let me catch you up.
We'll come back to this whole fourth wall breaking narrative convention later on. For now, this subscribe pop-up kind of rubs me the wrong way, since like, right after this cold open, we see what appears to be the theme song, I guess. This pop-up appears again anyway, so why would you put the pop-up at the very beginning and disrupt what's actually going on in the episode? Well, we'll come back to this too. So we get a flashback to earlier in the morning, with Coco continuing to narrate.
It all started earlier when I was having a busy cafe morning.
Is this narrative convention gonna get distracting? We'll see. Anyways, we see that she's working as a barista, and this happens.
I don't know, warm gingerbread cocoa or iced cocoa. Ooh, maybe peppermint hot chocolate or maybe maple syrup.
Now, I can see a lot of people finding this character, Finley, to be annoying, but I think this kind of behavior is sort of cute. Plus, I like her voice. It's very goofy.
I'm finally, almost certainly, mostly decided that I'd like...
I think this sort of stuff is just endearing. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Well, Cherry appears and says all these things on the phone that just so happen to sound like she's skipping town.
I'm packing up right now. I do think a change of scenery would be good. I've been waiting for this day for a long time, and I'm finally ready to go.
Go?
And from this, Coco assumes that she really is ditching. I mean, obviously, this is all a misunderstanding. And if you have more than 2 brain cells to rub together, you can, like, use inductive reasoning to see that she's one of the main characters. Therefore, there's no way that she's gonna be actually moving away. Yeah, we've all seen this plot a billion times before. Also, with the elephant in the room, these phones. Sure, we should ask how these horses use phones with hooves, but let's just save all that kind of stuff for a different time. Anyways, I suppose TV shows with this trope doesn't exist in this universe, because Coco assumes that Cherry is moving away, citing these reasons as why she shouldn't.
She can't leave. She has friends here.
Well, she can make new ones, plus you all have phones to keep in touch with.
And a tea and treat shop.
Well, if she's ready, like she said, she probably has business stuff all figured out already.
And she makes the best macarons ever!
What narcissist? So Coco tells Finley that Cherry is moving away and they go down to the surf shack where Bailey works and tells her this.
Cherry is packing up and leaving town.
Coco overheard Cherry talking. She said a change of scenery would be good for her.
Well, if she's moving on the basis that it's gonna be, quote, good for her, you'd be bad friends to not at least consider the fact that it may actually be good for her. That's dumb. Also, I'm not sure what to think of this surfing vernacular.
Surf and saddles! That is so unchill!
This just seems like how Applejack uses apple expressions.
Being sisters is like apple pie.
But I'll try my best to see this as its own thing. But before I can even talk about that, this happens.
Does Candy know? Candy! She'll want to hear this news, especially for her video channel.
First of all, Video channel? Really? I mean, where do I even start with this? If we're to translate this sentence directly into real life lingo, it would roughly be she would want to hear the news, especially for her YouTube channel, which is a clunkily worded sentence, but we get the idea of what it means since we've seen in the trailer that Candy is a vlogger, so she would want to talk about it on her channel and keep her fans updated. All right, fine, that makes sense. But couldn't they think of a name for whatever YouTube is in this universe? I would have instantly breathed the breath of a batch of world building into the show. Secondly, they had this exchange earlier.
Cherry is leaving town!
Why didn't she tell us?
I guess she didn't want anyone to know.
So you yourself admit that Cherry didn't want anyone, including her closest friends, to know. Yet you think that this is information that should be spread to literally everyone and anyone? Especially on a public forum such as a vlog? Think! Well, then they get to Candy and this happens.
That is the saddest news I've ever heard! Welcome back to Candy's Corner. I have some breaking news.
Which is actually pretty funny. She seems dramatic and somewhat sociopathic based on the fact that either she was genuinely sad and crying, yet was able to turn her tears off right away, or she was fake crying for theatrics and decided to stop as soon as she turned her camera on. And it's not like she was only not crying on video just to cry after the camera turns off, since when she turns the camera off, she doesn't go back to crying while her friends still are. That's actually pretty funny. Though it is kind of dumb how she immediately thinks that this is an appropriate topic to talk about on her video channel without a second thought. This is more evidence towards this new Candy is a sociopath theory that I just came up with. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but she's coming across as super disingenuous, which is actually funny and is giving me some thought to chew on in the midst of this show for toddlers. And really, on top of that, she's pretty cute and I think she's my new favorite e-girl.
I'll bring her one of my famous sugary sweet candy apples.
Wow, I guess she's a mix of Pinky and Applejack. Anyways, the friend group decides to all bring Cherry gifts to convince her not to leave.
I'll whip up an extra special chocolate almond and pumpkin spice double sprinkle cup of cocoa with extra marshmallows.
Bruh, she had coffee earlier in the day. That's quite a bit of caffeine for one day, don't you think? As they're all marching towards Cherry, we finally come full circle with the cold opening where Coco says,
Whoa! So, I think you're all caught up now. Come on!
yeah, that is a bit of a strange narrative rhetoric. Now, once again, we'll come back to that. I just want to make note of it when it happens so you actually know what I'm talking about later. Anyways, we actually finally get the context for the Surf's Up line from the trailer.
Surf's up, Cherry!
And, was this really necessary? I'm not sure if it even applies to the situation here. It's like they just wanted, a snappy shot for their trailer, which... fair enough. Though it's notable how Finley says,
We're doing the right thing, aren't we?
which does remind me of what they said earlier where they admitted that Cherry wants to move for her own good.
She said a change of scenery would be good for her.
I guess this one line basically explores that perspective. You know, one of, if you love me, let me go. But all of that nuance gets dashed in half a second when Candy says this without a second thought.
Of course we are. She's making a terrible mistake.
This is even more evidence to think that Candy is some sort of sociopath/narcissist. So they all find Cherry, and we get this shot of this apple flying off, and that got a pretty good chuckle out of me. Also, this happens.
I'm not going anywhere. I'd never leave Wild and all of my wonderful friends. Where'd you get such a silly idea?
Which is also pretty funny. The way that her friends just look at her with the whole insert swear word here, you've got to be kidding me look is pretty funny. It's very goofy and sort of has elements of cringe comedy in it, which My Little Pony didn't really touch upon. So I guess that's another theme you could explore that would give the show a unique voice. It's also pretty subtle, or at least as subtle as a show like this could get. And if all these episodes to come all feature animation gags like this, I can see myself checking out a couple more episodes out.
But I heard you at the cafe earlier. You were on the phone.
Anyways, they clear up this whole misunderstanding, and man, are we lucky that Cherry somehow literally remembered everything she said on the phone earlier.
Yes, I am packing up a really big order. It's almost time to go to the market, but it's just for the day.
Anyways, with Cherry specifying that she was actually talking about order for her macarons, her friends all help her, and we end the episode off like this.
I'm glad. Here, help yourselves.
Sweet.
You're the best.
No, you are.
You are.
You are.
All are. No, you are.
I like how the episode ends before we get to actually see them eat the macarons. Since how the frick are you supposed to animate these horses grabbing these tiny things from a box? Now, we'll get to my thoughts on the overall atmosphere of the show so far later on, but that was the first episode. Let's now move on to the second. The main machine. This episode also starts off in the middle of the action, where we see this robot from the trailer terrorizing the girls. Then this horse tells Coco,
This is not happening. This is...
Coco, it's happening. So we can either run away or we can find a way to stop this man-made machine.
wow, a logical thinker. I like you already. Well, the cold opening ends with Coco breaking the fourth wall and us getting the theme song.
How did we even get into this mess?
Title credits, I really don't know what to call this thing. Anyways, the episode proper starts off with Coco working the till at her coffee shop, just like the previous one. Is this how every episode's gonna start like? Well, Cherry orders a...
Double mocha with extra whipped cream. My fave.
Her fave, huh? So, is this the usual from the last episode?
Hey, Cherry. The usual?
You know it.
And if so, does that mean that Coco probably already knows that this is her fave, which makes this bribery tactic of her getting something else to convince her not to move from the last episode quite a bit of a head scratcher?
And I'll whip up an extra special chocolate almond and pumpkin spice double sprinkle cup of cocoa with extra marshmallows.
Since that's clearly a different drink than her fave?
Double mocha with extra whipped cream. My fave.
But also, maybe not, I don't know. Since the drinks that Cherry orders in these two episodes, the usual and her fave, are clearly different. Anyways, Bailey is also standing in line, yet instead of actually ordering anything from her place of business, she decides to complain that there ain't any waves to surf on today.
What can I get you, Bailey?
Some excitement. I wanted to surf the waves today, but there aren't any.
Sure. So the trio decide to think of something fun to do with this exchange happening.
We could go for a trot or clean up the town. Is she serious?
And I actually like this dynamic. It's like the whole, let's do good for society. Why? It's a nice contrast. Or at least until Cherry brings up her next suggestion,
Or bake cookies.
with Coco responding to that.
Cherry, you bake cookies every day.
That kind of ruins the flow of the joke, which makes me think that this wasn't even supposed to be a joke in the first place. I don't know. So they settle upon having a spa day with Cherry saying,
Oh, if only Perla were here, we could all have a makeover.
and wouldn't you know it, Perla happens to show up.
How does she do that?
She's practically a goddess.
A goddess? Well, you know what they say, every god needs a goddess. See anyone you like? Anyways, to give us a feel of Perla's character, this happens.
We're thinking of having a spa day.
Yes! Cucumber facials, hoof polish, mane makeovers. Let's do it.
As it didn't help at all how the cheery and outgoing candy pony was pink, it doesn't help how this makeover fashion pony is white, especially when this is supposed to be the spa day episode.
It's been so long since we've had a relaxing day at the spa together.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to eat the cucumber slices, Coco.
Wow, tell that to Rainbow Dash who you stole this visual gag from.
Come on, relax. Have a Huffacure. It feels amazing.
Perla then shows off this robot, the Main Tamer 3000, which gives automatic makeovers, with Coco once again breaking the fourth wall here.
What now?
Yeah, this is getting pretty distracting pretty fast.
What could possibly go wrong?
Wow, nice Bubsy reference.
What could possibly go wrong?
Anyways, the Main Tamer 3000 starts giving makeovers like it's intended, and Cherry says,
Magnificent.
nice pun! Honestly, I love puns, and if you put in more stuff like this in the show, it's A-okay in my books. Well, the happiness doesn't last long since the robot starts going crazy for like, no reason?
I've made it angry.
Why is her saying, I've made it angry, genuinely funny? I know when you dissect a joke, it gets less funny, but I think we should actually study this. The word angry implies that robots can feel emotions, which already makes this a funny sentence. And also the delivery of her sounding so unconcerned about this technological terror just makes it seem like this character is indifferent to whatever happens from this. I mean, listen to how, like, unconcerned and apathetic she sounds here.
I've made it angry.
Whatever the case is, the Main Tamer 3000 starts going off and causing havoc. The individual things it does really doesn't matter for the purpose of my point, but it's odd how this line from the cold opening,
Coco, it's happening. So we can either run away or we can find a way to stop this man-made machine.
was cut out. Especially when the cold opening went on for like 50 seconds when it was around 20 seconds in the first episode. This is so dumb, I have no idea how to articulate or wrap my head around this. Like, in a meta sense, shouldn't you try to keep the opening hook short and make sure that it has punch and impact? So if anything, shouldn't this additional line of dialogue be in the actual episode and not the other way around? Also, from an in-show perspective, what's the canon chain of events then? Is it the timeline where Perla says this, or the one where she doesn't? Since this story is being relayed by Coco, as she is the narrator, and whereas in the cold opening, Perla is the logical one and told Coco to stop worrying and fix the problem, in the actual episode, Coco seemingly comes to this conclusion on her own.
This is not happening. This is not happening. This is...
Coco, it's happening. So we can either run away.
Versus,
This is not happening. This is not happening. This is... Wait. This is happening. right! I've got to find a way to shut down that machine!
Is Coco even a reliable narrator? Because I don't think so. Meaning so far we've got a sociopath, an unreliable narrator, a caffeine addict, a person who finds her friend's suggestions of helping the world stupid, and an apathetic individual who is reckless enough to unleash a dangerous robot ready to maim her friends. What a great cast of characters. I'm really not sure if we're supposed to read between the lines here and there's some dark humor that kids won't get, or if I'm going insane trying to seriously analyze this show for babies that I'm projecting my own mental shortcomings onto these characters. But it really is questionable how the cold opening featuring Perla being level-headed and logical starts off with this, whereas the part right before that in the actual episode, Perla says the most cowardly thing.
Run! Save yourself!
And judging by how Perla's logical line is absent in the actual episode, yet her line being a coward is in here, is the actual episode just Coco being an unreliable narrator and seeing herself as a brave savior of sorts, and rewriting Perla to be a coward? Like, what the heck? Perla's line here and her line in the cold opening are like two different polar opposite characters. I know that those whole like characters are mentally ill cartoon theories are beyond parody at this point, but the things in this show really doesn't add up, and I can't help but see that as a valid theory here. Anyways, the way Coco heroically single-handedly saves the day is by kicking the robot into the fountain.
Now that was wild!
And presumably expensive. The robot wasn't even yours. Who's gonna pay for this? At any rate,
We mean to please!
nice pun. Like, seriously, I hope that we consistently get more than one pun per episode because I find these pretty endearing. Also, the episode ends with the implication that the robot isn't really dead, which if the series does want to make things feel more tight and make this universe feel more lived in, it would be great to bring this back at some point. But we'll talk more about the world building of the show a little later. Let us talk about the third and final episode at the time of this video's release, Coach Tilly.
Are you doing okay, Coco?
I'll be fine!
Okay, do these characters all have to look the exact same?
What does a marathon around town have to do with making hot cocoa? Fire beans!
And do all these episodes have to start the exact same?
It all started when...
Well, anyways, the topic of interest of this week is that Coco got accepted to participate in some barista championship thing, with the conflict being...
But it's next week. So? I'm not ready. It's too soon. I need to practice. I need to sharpen my skills.
So why would you apply to a contest that clearly took a while to mail you the acceptance letter just to start worrying about how it's in a week when you've had all this time to practice? Not to mention, it's quite interesting how she got the acceptance letter in the form of a paper letter as opposed to a text or an email, seeing these horses all have phones. Anyways, with the amount of puns so far, this line over here...
I need to train.
Did someone say train?
made me half expect for her to show up in a literal train.
I can train you. I'm an excellent coach.
Yes, yes, yes!
Wow, amazing Skibbity toilet reference.
Yes, yes.
Well, the way that Tilly says all this...
A coach has to be tough. A coach has to make her trainees sweat.
Yeah, this coach plotline really doesn't help the My Little Pony comparisons at all.
Louder. Yay.
Louder!
Yay.
Louder!
That's it. Higher, faster, stronger.
Wow, nice, almost Daft Punk reference. Anyways, insert training montage. This comes to an end when Coco wants to give up, and this hippie cheerleader, Dreamer, comes up and gives Coco moral support.
Okay, Coco. Let's talk. Positive affirmations.
I point this out because it's also dumb how this appearance of Dreamer from the cold open
Are you doing okay, Coco?
I'll be fine.
is also cut. Is this Coco's way of rewriting history and making it seem like she accomplished literally everything by herself without the aid of anyone else? So once Coco finishes her main training, it's time for the big final test,
You've trained hard and you're ready for the big test.
What now? I'll climb up a mountain with 4 packs on my back?
where she says this.
Swimming with sharks?
Okay, sharks are canon to this universe. No takesy-backsies. We better see sharks in a future episode. So Coco passes her final test, serving coffee with flying colors. And we end off on this joke.
Hey, Billy. Do you need a trainer for the surfing contest next month?
Oh, you know, I think I hear some horse calling from my snack shack. Gotta go.
That was genuinely funny, and the first time I watched this, it actually did get a chuckle out of me. But once again, they completely ruined the joke with this next line.
She'll come back. They always do.
Like, we could have literally just ended the episode with Bailey running away, and that would have been a punchy joke to end the episode on. But we decided to keep going and have this quite unfunny and cliche line instead. And of course, her friends all laugh at this. Sure, have your characters laugh at unfunny one-liners in case you don't think that the line is funny enough to stand on its own. This is basically just a laugh track. And also, if you're wondering why I had significantly less to say about this episode than the other two, it's probably because most of it was a montage without much of a story. But on that note, The first thing I want to bring up, the fourth wall breaks. Since I'm sure most of us found them a rather strange tactic, and if not, just straight up distracting. Now, as an English major, I had to spend an extended amount of time studying narrative and rhetorical conventions and narrative voices and all that good stuff, which in layman's terms or non-pretentious terms would be like trying to get into the mind of the writer of whatever we're consuming and trying to break down why they made the decisions they did. So let's ask, why was Coco written to be a fourth wall breaking narrator? I have a couple theories. My most cynical outlook on that would be, because this is a show aimed for those of us who still haven't mastered the art of tying our own shoes or counting by twos yet, it's just to mansplain everything that's going on to its target demographic to make it easier to follow along. On the other hand, my most generous outlook on it would be, because this show is aimed for those of us who still haven't mastered the art of silent reading or completing a word search yet, it establishes an extra meta connection between the lead character and little Susie watching on her mother's iPad. Now, I'm assuming the real answer lies somewhere between as a blend of those two sides, and I understand it. However, as someone with an overactive and highly caffeinated brain that literally won't shut up, I take this as Coco being a possibly schizophrenic, unreliable narrator who rewrites history to make herself look more brave to the audience. And you know what? As long as your choices like this inspire creativity like that theory, go ahead. Who cares if it's distracting or immersion breaking? Honestly, we're just all here to have fun. It's not really a huge deal. But other than that, I get why each episode has a starting in the middle of the action. It's because, especially with the subscribe pop-up popping up, it's utilizing that tactic YouTubers use where they have the whole coming up segment to hook viewers in, which kind of seems lazier than just starting episodes off with good hooks at the beginning of the episode, rather than relying on the middle of it. But either way, I point this out just to emphasize how specifically YouTube-centered this show seems to be steering. Though Coco aside, let's talk about her friends. Firstly, I want to say, interesting choice of voices.
We don't want you to leave town.
You're one of our dearest, sweetest friends. You can't go. You just can't.
I can see people finding this a little, I don't know, ear grating, but I find it goofy and silly, which is pretty much all I ask for. Good job. The only thing that's slightly concerning to me is because all these characters are colored like actual horses and not colors of the rainbow, like our little ponies, I can see people mixing them up and confusing them. In fact, the first episode I watched of this was accidentally the last one, since it was the first in the series playlist and I wasn't checking the actual upload order. And I was so confused at how two of these characters that appear at the beginning pretty much look the exact same, save for a streak of hair. I don't know, like, I'm sure once we start getting more episodes, confusions like this will die down. But on the note of visual stuff, as I pointed out earlier, I think the animation is one of the show's strengths. To be honest, when I first saw these promotional images, I thought that these characters would be boring. I didn't really think they stood out from other cartoon horses. And I thought designing these horses to not look that stylized from real life horses, both in color and proportions, would have made the animation and all that a little stilted. But I was actually pleasantly surprised. I didn't think I'd find these horses appealing, and while I may not see them as cute as ponies from My Little Pony, I would be lying if I didn't say I didn't warm up to these designs eventually. Though the one negative thing about the animation would be like, the backgrounds are very empty. It's actually a little uncanny how we have all these horses running businesses, yet the only customers are the friend group. Almost as if this is like a post-apocalyptic town, with this friend group all LARPing, as if it's a live, bustling, thriving environment. Like, when we see Bailey's surf shack and see that there's literally nobody else there, with her just standing there behind the booth, it's a little sad. Like, this all just reminds me of that video of North Korea where this woman is expected to direct traffic, presumably every day when there's no cars in sight. But I get it, the series is still in its infancy, or at least as far as we're aware, and the first few episodes, heck, the first season of My Little Pony basically had this exact issue. So, whatever, let's give it some time. Plot-wise, whatever, it's generic, but that's not a huge deal. Yet, since this is a 5-minute web series specifically made to sell toys catered to those of us who still haven't mastered the art of coloring inside the lines or being able to eat solid food yet. However, if Jax wants his IP to stand as its own thing and not just live in the shadow of My Little Pony forever, yeah, we're gonna have to eventually try a little bit harder than this. But we'll come back to all the whole franchise general stuff later. We've still got one more piece of official Wildmains product to comb over. Now, I may not have played Roblox in a while, so I don't know how much they upgraded or changed or whatever, but I know that the only thing about Roblox that remains the same throughout the ages is that it's really only fun when you play with other people, so it only makes sense to bring someone on for this occasion. Hey, Bad News Crow. Sap, would you like to play Roblox with me?
Yeah, I totally would, but I have no fingers.
Yeah, why did I even ask you? You only ever give bad news. Hey, A+, would you like to play Roblox? Well, first of all, I hate you, and second of all, I'm kind of preoccupied not making videos about shows for little girls. So, yeah, okay, fine, forget I asked. And on top of that, I hope you know that nobody likes you. And on top of that, I hope you know that you're a disappointment to your whole family. And if you disappear tomorrow, literally nobody will notice. But in short, no. Oh, Sunset, would you like to play Roblox? I need to find a new social circle. Whatever, I guess I'm on my own for now. Let's play.
Hey guys, it's F-. Welcome back to another Roblox video. Today we're gonna be playing Wild Ma-
Okay. Anyways, I have no idea if my computer is gonna be able to run this properly and have it record without lagging, but I guess I will see in post, and if it lags throughout the whole recording, I'm going to be very disappointed. Okay, this isn't even funny. Like, I tried recording this segment like several times, but every single time the footage would be like unusably slow. I'm talking like 1 frame every like 10 seconds. So now I'm using Roblox's built-in recorder, and as you can see, the quality sucks, but this is honestly as good as it's gonna get at this point. Anyways, basically the gameplay is simple. You just go around collecting ingredients and talking to the horses from the show and making like drinks that they want. It's pretty cool, and it's really nice that you get to like walk around and see the places that appear in the show. It's very immersive, and I can sense that if I was actually part of the target demographic of the show, I can get myself being lost in this pretty well. And I'd honestly encourage all of you guys to check it out, since I don't think my gameplay here is doing it literally any justice. And also, overall, I didn't really see this much, but I'd heavily encourage you guys to all check out the episodes as well. I know that I did a pretty thorough summary / analysis of them, but if you still haven't seen the originals, then I'd highly encourage you to do so, mostly because this is a newer series, and also because I don't want you guys to just take my opinion and run with it. I want this to be like a group discussion. Like, do we all collectively think that this franchise is something worth forming a fandom around? I don't know, that's up for like all of us to decide as a group. But speaking of which, before I draw my grand conclusion on what I think of this actual franchise, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the actual reason the show and Roblox game were made. To sell toys. And honestly, after just going through a 3.5-hour journey into inaccurate My Little Pony toys, holy crow, are these a breath of fresh air. These actually resemble what we see in the show, which is awesome, but they also go one step beyond by featuring all these accessories, which look really cool. Anyways, they're toys of characters we haven't seen in the actual show yet, which optimistically means that they have a lot more stuff planned. Too bad the Perla one doesn't come with a robot. That would have been awesome. Now, I would have totally bought a bunch of these and showcased them in this video so I can provide an up-close review of them, but they're not out yet, so I guess I can't. So this is pretty much the extent of what I can say about them. I don't know if these are made with good quality or if they're durable or what, which is obviously an Easter egg / reference to how if any of the Wild Mains crew happen to be watching this video, they should totally send me some over so I can talk about them. I mean, you know, I'm giving you guys free publicity with this video, so I think a little something is in order, right? Nudge, nudge. Since usually in a video of this ilk, I'd scour through like wiki pages and other information and stuff like that to find all sorts of cool factoids to sprinkle in, but because the only thing like that in existence so far, the Jack's Pacific website and various social media pages aside, is a general thing on the animation wiki with incredibly bare bones information. And honestly, this made researching anything to do with the show pretty difficult. I mean, this doesn't even have its own page on IMDb yet. And it also kind of makes like the whole audience / fan reception on this kind of hard to pinpoint, especially when all the videos on the video channel are marked for kids, meaning that all the comments are disabled. There's technically no official forum of discussion yet. But while on the topic of their YouTube channel, I want to point out how their profile picture is this screenshot but with a different background. Yet when they trimmed that background out, they accidentally trimmed out her little bow thing. So now she just has a chunk of her skull missing. I sure do hope that somebody got fired for that blunder. And on the topic of blunders on their YouTube channel, it's kind of dumb how if you go to premieres of upcoming episodes, their description literally spoils the full entire plot of the episode to come. Like, if you want to avoid spoilers for this 5-minute short thing, I'd suggest not going on premieres before the premiere actually happens, because, what is this? Anyways, the leading discussion for now on this seems to be this post on none other than MLP forums by user I Forgot My Brain, where he writes this description to it. So, there's a new horse cartoon on the block that you might have heard of. It's called Wild Mains. Wild Mains is a 5-minute long cartoon featuring horses that currently has 1 episode released on YouTube. It seems to be heavily influenced by My Little Pony's own Tell Your Tale, as it has the same runtime, a similar art style, and a somewhat similar main cast. Now, the reason I read that is because even though I was looking at this through the lens of being similar to Friendship is Magic, a lot of the discussion here seems to be comparing Wild Mains to Tell Your Tale instead. Which, the reason I'm not is because I haven't actually seen Tell Your Tale because, I don't know, I'm not 2 years old. But judging by these responses from those who have seen it, they all seem to be hovering in the average to negative range. I guess this video that you're watching right now then provides a more unique perspective since I don't have the whole, they're copying G5 mentality. But from my limited knowledge of G5, I know that people complain about how it features all sorts of like modern technology and social media and all that, and I can kind of see where that's coming from, but I do think that most of that frustration stems from how G4 of My Little Pony went out of its way to not infuse modern technology. So that factor for Wild Mains really doesn't bother me at all. I'll just take anything that makes this unique from My Little Pony. Another source of discussion seems to be coming from, once again, a My Little Pony website, Equestria Daily, which, for all intents and purposes, just acts as the comment section for all these episode videos. But here, the reaction seems to be a little bit more positive, saying that it's actually better than Tell Your Tale, which, I mean, I guess that's nice to hear. Never mind, as I was editing this video, I found out that Wild Mains does have its own wiki. It just doesn't show up on Google, unless if you specifically look up Wild Mains wiki. I literally scoured through all 26 pages of Google results under the search of Wild Mains, yet the wiki literally never showed up. But still, because this is a new show, the wiki isn't really full of any non-obvious information that I haven't said in this video already, so that's a non sequitur. Moving on. Overall thoughts. From the limited scope of what's out so far, there's one big thing that I'm pretty iffy about. The longevity of this franchise. Like, if the show is a human being, the main question I would want to ask it is, why are you a horse? It's almost like you were asking for My Little Pony comparisons. Though, you basically took out the two core things that made My Little Pony not just a generic horse cartoon, which were the fact that it had colorful characters and magic usage. So take those two out, now we're just left with generic-looking horses. So my question is, seriously, why horses? The thing is that we have access to what I assume is the pitch for the show or the announcement of it, I don't know, which actually addresses this decision. Which actually addresses this decision. Why can't I say this line? Which actually addresses this decision. Which addresses this decision. Which addresses this decision. Okay, can you guys say this line? Is it really? Which addresses this decision. Essentially, to paraphrase, the senior director of marketing and girls' toys for Jax is saying that girls slightly older than the crowd for My Little Pony, based on market research and interviewing parents, and girls, apparently they're demanding a new modern take on horses with more grounded and realistic storytelling that they can relate to. Okay, but surely there were plenty of other animals you could have spun a franchise around. Unless if you're telling me the horses in specific are really where the money is in terms of girls' toys. I don't know. I have no reference to base this upon. I obviously don't have a daughter within the age range of what this is talking about, or at all for that matter. I don't have any sisters. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have any female friends. Fine, I have no friends at all. Happy? But if so, it's interesting to note that the core intention of this product seems to be following a beaten path rather than paving its own. Though, as I've pointed out, there are differences between the shows for sure, but the key difference, according to this paper, is apparently My Little Pony is well entrenched at retail and on screen, but the Hasbro franchise skews younger towards more of a 4 to 7 crowd, whereas Wild Mains is going after 6 to 10-year-olds. I'm not sure if these people even know what they're talking about, judging by how My Little Pony definitely knew of and actively incorporated the things into the show originating from 4chan, which is a totally kid-friendly website for 4 to 6-year-olds. Yeah, I don't know. This just seems like pure speak where they pull this age number out of their behind to attract investors or whoever was supposed to actually read this. But with all that said, maybe it's just Stockholm Syndrome from watching and thinking and writing about these horses for days straight that actually made me actually invested in this. But I'd like to see a world where the creative forces behind this franchise can do a full 11 or 22-minute TV series. The paper from earlier specifies, quote, why the full Gallop approach? We're operating in a fandom-focused industry now, says Epic Story CEO Ken Fair. Which kind of clears some confusion up, but I ain't just gonna blindly trust this and shall wait until we see actual results of anything. I mean, one way to really prove that would be to be a lot more lax with copyright claims on YouTube than Hasbro is. Which, on one hand, I get it. They have to automate copyright claims to protect their legal assets and stuff. But on the other, if you do want a thriving, bustling fandom that produces fan videos such as theories and commentaries and reviews or whatever, then that would be a step in the right direction, somehow, if we can find a middle ground there. Still, on the basis of what we do have so far, it does give me hope that the toys seem genuinely good, and I would love to review them if the team decides to send some over, am I right? Overall, I'm just concerned for the longevity of the product is all. And I shall keep you all posted if you so wish. There's apparently going to be 40 episodes of at least the first season, and they're coming out on a weekly basis. So we've got enough gas in the tank for almost a year of Wild Mains. So clearly this isn't going to go anywhere anytime soon. So I just want to see it being built on a firm foundation while it's still in its infancy. I will 100% keep an eye out on this franchise with great interest and possibly maybe make other videos about Wild Mains. I don't know. This video was actually pretty much an impulsive decision. We'll see what happens. I think I'll have to start saying this in every video going forward, but I'm a mind reader, not a fortune teller. Thank you to all my patrons. You guys are awesome. And like I said in the last video, I'll be attending Everfree Northwest to give out a bunch of My Little Pony figures. So I hope to see some of y'all there. Anyways, this has been F- signing out.